So I wanted to do a quick video today about a install that I'm working on for my Jeep. And it is a software-defined radio module. This one right here, Misc. And this is a device that basically receives radio signals. This is only a receiver, so this doesn't transmit. There are some you can get that do transmit. It's a little bit different, and there are licensing needs for that type of device. But the idea of these devices, and I think they're going to be a huge change in the way that overland and kind of camping communications happen, is that they allow you to visually inspect radio frequencies for, kind of trunking or tracking purposes. So if you're curious of what's happening in the radio space, this is a really cool diagnostic style way of seeing that visually. So this, I think, goes up to 2 gigahertz or 2000 megahertz frequencies, and down to, I think, 50 hertz is the lowest one. So it's a huge range this can read within. This is the telescopic antenna that came with it. There are 2 different antennas for different frequency sets that you can use. And this is just a free set of software that I got here. These are the 2. Oops. It's a sound analyzing. Rtl Sdr Driver. This SDR is software defined radio, and then RF analyzer. I'll put links for those down below. I think that's trying to listen to me. But what this basically is a receiver app that basically just reads all your radio frequencies, and there's some really cool things that you can do with this. So first of all, you're seeing the frequency bands there, just as if you were tuning a radio, so you can actually go to radio stations. So some local ones here I know are in the I think it's like 95, or you get a lot of more options in these types of apps than you do on your regular phone, or on your regular radios, like these ham radios and things like that. These are basically a 2-way radio, so they're not made for like kind of digging into the radio frequencies at this kind of granular level or inspection style level. Let's just go there. And here you're seeing the waveform of the audio being broadcast. You can see there's peaks in there. You can lower this down so that the actual waterfall will only show you the heavy use frequency areas, and those are the radio stations. So then I can choose how it's listening. Let's do wideband FM.
Delicious homemade recipes crafted by a respected local chef. Check out the drink and pizza specials Monday through Wednesday.
You can just hear a regular advertisement. You can move to another radio station. So this is the listening band right here in the FM space. So as I'm scrolling this over, you can see the frequencies meeting up with it. And you're getting that static. This line at the bottom here, this is your squelch. So you can actually remove all of the audio or bring it right into perfect tune. So these have a lot of features for just a simple application, whereas this type of software and hardware combination would cost a fortune normally to have this kind of tech available. So it's pretty neat. I actually am pretty impressed that you can get I think it's $35 for one of these little dongles. This is a set that was $40, and it came with the 2 antennas, so I could at least start playing with it. And part of this came about because of my interest in getting my ham license and my GMRS license, which that's a little easier because all you have to do is just apply for it. Ham, you have to do a little bit of testing. But there's some interesting things that happen with radio frequencies that are kind of annoying, is the overlap and use of those frequencies for other things. And one of those, my wife's Gladiator, actually, she just was at a work function where her coworker also had a Gladiator and used his remote start, and it remote started hers. And then hers was acting up afterwards. So I think that's pretty interesting how that works. And then just being able to see and monitor, for instance, radio frequencies in certain bands it can be really useful. For instance, most things run in radio, or most wireless communications are in that same radio band. Some of them go a little bit higher than that, but this seems to be something that will prove to be a lot of exciting exploring for me, because I like to kind of take on these silly types of projects where I can see what boundaries I can push with that, what I can explore. And this phone is actually normally on the dashboard of my Jeep. And I have a little phone mount inside here that this is normally held on. And I was already going to wire it up in the panel behind that side over there. I will back this out a little bit. Behind that panel over there, and wire the antenna and all of the radio module, and then just have this wire feed to it. But this little 90 has power delivery at a high voltage or wattage, but it doesn't do data high speed, and so it won't work with this app. But normally my phone just plugs in up there. So this is normally like the navigation and all of the music and everything for my Jeep, and this stays in my Jeep. My personal cell phone is the one that you're recording this on. So this one will end up being my radio analyzer and all of that. So built in, hopefully they'll make some more modules in the future that give a little bit more robust functionality. But I think for now, for the person getting into radio and being able to just listen to frequencies, I think that's a really cool, cheap tool. And for someone who might be, new to not only electronics in general, but if they're kind of a nerd, this would be a great hobbyist Christmas gift for someone who has an old phone and they want to be able to see, just all the fun things you can do. You can see the electronic signal from your key fob, so you can tell when your key fob is beeping. There's all sorts of things that use radio. You'd be able to tell your garage is being opened when it's being opened, the frequency is being used. These types of radios, although they're very powerful in sending and receiving, which is their big beneficial features, these transmit as well. I'm not legally allowed to push this button unless I have a ham license while transmitting over those particular frequencies. And this one is just one of those two-way radios you can get, and then they make these with GMRS where you can actually go into a separate set of bands where you do have to get a call sign, which is free, but you do have to sign up for it. But both of these are two-way transmission radios, and you can't really tell what's happening in the radio frequencies. You can't visualize any of the data that's being sent through. So those types of radios are for obviously audio communication, whereas this is more of a scout, so you can actually see the type of information that's being sent and maybe even the code patterning. And you can actually, with those apps, there are all sorts of different apps for it, but you can record that. So you can actually record, for instance, your key fob's code that opens your vehicle. Although they use rolling codes, there's a whole Steve Mold video about that as well, and a lot of information about the security of that radio frequency world. But let me know what you think. I'd be curious. Anyone out there who is also experimenting with the SDR radio world, I'm very interested. Let me know what you think.